But now it's the return of Bruce Forsyth with Play Your Cards Right.
In archive lingo, film and VT, we record on the sofa and sometimes OB. Round the archives is mildly appealing. It's time for us to start our spieling. Oh, what a lovely bunch of listeners. So much better than last time. And now it's time to welcome our contestants. Will you welcome, please, Lisa and Warren? That's right, stand there, don't be nervous. And what's your name?
Lisa, you just said so, you idiot.
Quite correct, that's 5 points. And you, sir, what's your name?
Warren, you great hairy fool. Honestly, I've never properly serviced on this show.
And now it's time for our quickfire round.
If this nonsense goes on much longer, you're the one who's going to be fired.
Very good. Now, for 50 points, name a bird with a long neck.
I don't know. Lisa?
Is the correct answer.
Oi, less of that.
Crop rotation in the 14th century was considerably...
And stop nicking jokes from the young ones.
All right, then, one final question. Was it a good idea to open the episode with this sketch?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, with fabulous star prizes, give or take the odd booby.
Is there a word missing there?
No.
It's episode 14 of Round the Archives.
And here on BBC One at 7:25, Louisa and the Major return to the Bentinck with a new guest for the Duchess of Duke Street. First, more family fun with Bruce Forsyth and the Generation Game.
Hello!
Hello.
And welcome to episode 14.
Of Round the Archives.
Yes, hello. I'm Andrew.
I'm Lisa.
And Warren will be along shortly.
He's not here at the moment.
No, but he will be.
He will be.
We've also got some new voices coming up later in this issue.
Most
which is
exciting.
Most exciting,
Yes.
to quote Peter Cushion.
Yeah.
I said Cushion.
Did you?
Yeah, no relation to Humphrey Cushion.
Okay, I hope not.
Couple of corrections and sort of clarifications from last time.
Mm-hmm.
I did say Baddington at one point instead of Paddington, but I suppose Baddington is the evil universe version of Paddington. He's got a little goatee beard or something and an evil hat.
An evil hat.
I don't know what an evil hat would look like, but
what does he do? Is he mean to Mr. Carey?
Probably. Womble's early episodes. I said it features a fridge. I've looked closely.
Right.
We've looked closer at it, and
look.
it seems to be an oven rather than a fridge.
Which you still wouldn't want children to get inside.
No, I suppose not.
No.
Are you being served US and Australian versions? Just to clarify, Beans of Boston, which is the US version, most of the names are the same apart from Mr. Bean. But you've got Mr. Peacock rather than Captain Peacock. But you've still got Mrs. Slocum, Mr. Humphreys, Mr. Lucas, Miss Brahms, and so on. The Australian version, they do change the name. So you've got Captain Wagstaff, Mr. Randall, Mrs. Crawford, and so on, and Mr. Bone,
which is really not subtle at all.
No, but I guess it would have been just completely unrealistic to have them having the same names as well as having exactly the same adventures.
Yeah, I think John Inman might have actually suspected something.
He might have got something there. But I think that's all the odds and ends. We'll probably think of some more things as we go along.
We probably will.
But yes, now Warren joins us on the sofa to do the Generation Game.
Yes, and a tribute to Bruce Forsyth.
Indeed. So, back soon.
Bye-bye.
Life is the name of the game, and I want to play the game with you. Life can be terribly tame if you don't play the game with two.
And we're here now to talk about Bruce Forsyth.
Yes.
Um,
And his most famous game show,
Absolutely.
yes.
which is the Generation Game.
Warren's here. Hello,
Yes.
Warren.
Hello,
there.
Warren.
And you have been watching with us the Generation Game 1973
Christmas
special.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did we make of this?
It was very enjoyable.
I think fantastic is
Yes.
the word,
It
isn't
was
it?
brilliant.
Yes.
We laughed all the way through,
Yes.
didn't we?
Especially in the end play,
Yeah.
which was very funny, and everybody threw themselves into it with gusto.
And that's the thing. Everybody is inclusive in it. They want to be. All right. Yeah, you go on the game show, but the more fun it becomes, the more people put into it, don't
Yeah.
they? They have excitement. They have fun. And everyone at home was sat watching. I don't know how you used to watch it. Did you? I used to sit with the family and watch it. Did you sit in the family group and watch it? Because it was that kind
I was
of
only
show.
one, so I don't
Oh,
remember.
bless you.
Sorry.
Well, I'm just trying to work it out because I would have been 5 when this was shown, and I definitely remember seeing Bruce on the Generation Game. But Bruce goes up to 1977, doesn't he? And then Larry Grayson takes over in 78. Is that
Yeah.
right? I
Something
think?
like that,
Something
yeah.
like that. But I definitely remember seeing Bruce on there. Because again, it's all tied up with like Saturday night memories, isn't it? So it was, Doctor Who, Generation Game, all of that.
Well, it's a definite BBC domination of Saturday night. It was almost like the Cosa Nostra TV company had got Saturday night. ITV were never going to take it away during that I'm not going to use the golden age. It's a
Oh,
horrible
don't say
term,
that.
no. During that period of time, the early 70s up until about possibly 78, they had the monopoly on Saturday nights, didn't they?
But why is Bruce so good at presenting the Generation Game, do you think?
He's got empathy with the
Yeah.
contestants.
Yeah,
And he's not afraid to make a fool of himself.
yeah.
He's not afraid to be the butt of the joke.
Yeah. I think we should explain how this show works
Yeah.
again, because inevitably not everybody's ancient like us.
No.
So you've got the contestants are 2 people
Yes.
who are related in some way.
In some
One-
way,
one
or
older.
not necessarily related. It could be mother-in-law and son-in-law,
Yeah.
but
Hence
they
the
have a
generation.
relationship
Yes.
of some kind.
One's older, one's younger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which works quite well, and you do watch it. This one particularly, the clothes is interesting, but it's the age grouping, isn't it?
Yes.
We were talking about the older members of the family are going to be from the war time,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and the next ones are going to be the baby boomers.
Yeah.
Because one of the best people on there is an old woman from Corfe
Mullen.
Mullen.
Yes,
Oh,
which is
fabulous.
local to where we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she's not got her false teeth in.
She doesn't wear her false teeth because she's a chiropodist, or chiropodist as she insists it's
Yeah.
pronounced.
Yeah.
And when she bends over to do people's feet, they fall out.
Yeah. Why she couldn't get some sort
Better
of
teeth.
poly grip or
Yeah.
something? I don't know.
Or
But
just some
Wide
better teeth.
adventures. And there's the other lady who wears glasses, doesn't she, in the
Yeah.
final sketch?
And she keeps taking them
Taking them off
off,
to read something.
and then taking them off and then having to put them back on because she can't read the next
But
line.
the good thing about that is she's singing all the way through, isn't she?
Yeah.
She takes her glasses off to sing, to read
Yeah.
the words, to sing them from auto cue,
Yeah.
and then puts them back on again.
yeah, but I think it works well because you've got 2 people who are at ease with each other. They're not
Yes.
stuck there
Yeah.
on their own. If they
No.
were on their own, it would be a lot harder for them to, like, as you say, make a fool of themselves.
And that's where the magic of Brucey comes in, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Brucey will take anybody and he will build them up and he will play them and he will play them along. And he has this wonderful way at the beginning, doesn't he, of passing... It's not criticism, is it? But it's
Yeah,
sharp remarks. Yeah.
he'll do a look to camera as
Yeah.
well. Where
Yeah.
There's a camera that's always on him that they can cut to
Yeah.
for his reaction
Yeah.
shot. If they say something silly or drop
Or
something.
they've done something
Yeah.
weird, or
But let's quickly sort of zoom through what games they've got to play because they've got each pair of contestants.
they play 2 games.
They play 2
Yeah,
games.
2 games.
Yeah.
And then the people that get through the 2 games play in the final game, which is usually
Usually a
especially
play,
at Christmas,
yeah.
a play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have your construction game. Like for this one, it was creating Christmas crackers.
Yeah.
But famously, there's the potter's wheel, isn't
Yes.
there?
Or the meringue
Or
nests,
the meringue,
as we
Yeah.
saw.
or some
Or,
pastries.
or making a minced tart
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Fanny Craddock has just
Oh,
made.
yes.
yes.
Yeah.
But the first, one of the first games is they've got a load of famous, well, semi-famous people dressed
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
as
A snowman.
snowmen, and they've
Yeah.
got to identify them.
Who
'cause
they
they're
are.
singing.
Blue
Yeah.
Peter snowmen, I'd
Yes.
say, the way they were
Yeah.
made together.
We've got Frank Boff
Yeah.
there.
Derek Nimmo.
Derek Nimmo.
Tony Blackburn,
Tony Blackburn.
Jackie
But-
Pallow,
Yes.
And
Stratford
Graham-
John stunt double.
and
Yeah,
Christopher John
and-
stunt double,
But
Jimmy
half,
Ellis.
half the time, these people don't know who they are, so
Yeah.
they have to write something down. So one of them's written Sergeant Z Cars,
Yeah,
and the other pair have written Stratford Johns.
Yeah.
And they take his head off, and it's Jimmy Ellis.
yeah,
Now, given that Stratford Johns is about twice the size of Jimmy Ellis,
yes, yes.
And also another thing as far as sort of that generation, Jackie Pallow,
Yeah.
Pallow, yeah.
well-known
Wrestler?
wrestler.
Yes, thank you.
Well-known wrestler who used to be on the Avengers, didn't he?
He did,
Stuntman on the Avengers.
and he pops up in And Are You Being Served?
Oh, is he?
To
doesn't he
box
fight or box?
Captain
Yeah.
Peacock,
Oh, that's right.
and it ends up being Mrs. Slocum
So yeah,
because
That's right,
Captain
yeah.
Peacock's scared to fight him. Yeah.
So he's one of these like celebrity wrestlers that
Yes.
will just appear in stuff
Yes.
Yeah.
for some
Yeah.
reason.
and
Yeah.
take the mickey out of himself.
Yeah. But as you said, you've got my stomach going. Never mind, that's all right. You've got making Christmas crackers, which is we're going on it. It's just,
Yeah, from the lady from the Titanic.
She's not ready from the Titanic, we
But
have to say.
I was thinking, watching this aged 5, this woman comes on and demonstrates how to make Christmas crackers. I've half a feeling that if I was 5 watching this, I think this was the woman that made all the Christmas crackers in the world.
Absolutely.
And she'd
yeah.
made your
And
Christmas
she'd have made
crackers.
my Christmas
And
crackers.
you
for
could
that
say,
year.
"Oh look, Mum, she's made our Christmas crackers."
Yeah.
all the way
That's
through
the
the
woman
year.
that
That's
made
all
them.
she
Yeah,
does. Yes.
yeah. But that's quite fun. As you say, you've got Fanny and Johnny Craddock
Yeah.
doing what were they doing?
Making a mince tart, big mince pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now our friend Andy Davidson's a big Fanny Craddock
He is,
fan,
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
he? He does a festive
Fanny from the 1st of December up to the 25th of December.
Yeah.
And beyond sometimes.
Yeah, and he'll put up Fanny Craddock
Recipes,
recipes.
which look horrific.
But
I have to
crash
say,
cookery.
car cash cookery, yeah, like just awful. But we're going off the subject.
That's
Nothing
all right.
about a bit of Fanny at Christmas.
indeed, and then you've got the bloke doing the trick with the
Oh, the tablecloth.
cutlery, the tablecloth, the old trick of laying the table and pulling the cloth out and
Old
everything.
music hall time.
Yeah. But what do you say about his hair?
He looks like he's got a wig on because he's got
a Christmas
he's
hat
got a
on.
Christmas hat on,
He's
but it
holding
looks
the
like
wig
the
on.
wig's gone askew under the hat, and there's more one side than there is the other.
But everything is entertaining. Anyone that goes on there is entertaining in their own right. From the contestants to the people who are demonstrating the bits and pieces they need to do, to the fact that the final set piece, panto piece, with, of course, you got to mention the great,
Yeah,
the one and only
Frankie Howard.
Frankie Howard.
Yeah.
Doing Frankie Howard as only Frankie Howard can do, as the ugly sister or the dame, isn't he?
He's the Baron,
He's
and
the
then he
evil
comes
Baron,
on as
yeah, as
dressed
the
in
ugly
drag.
sister.
Yeah.
But then you have the thing where people who are not actors
Yeah.
then have to act out a play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is some of the real gold material,
Yeah.
I think, isn't it? Because you've got the old man and then the younger bloke,
Yeah.
both having to do Frankie Howard
And doing it
impressions.
really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
To
well.
one point where the young lad goes off, Brucey turns to the camera, doesn't he, and says, "Frankie will be furious. He's doing Frankie Howard better than Frankie Howard," which is brilliant.
But, I mean, we did look at a 1990s episode.
Yeah.
1990.
1990
Actually.
episode, yeah,
Yeah.
the first one when it
came back.
with Bruce. As you said,
Titles.
13 years since I last did it. And it's interesting to compare the contestants on the 1973 one
Yeah.
with the 1990 one.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from sort of fashion and hair and things like that, and I know, Lisa, this is one of your things, that
Yes.
you're very good at spotting
A mullet.
the year of the year of a game show based on hair
And clothes.
and clothes and
Yeah.
things
Well,
like
I'm a
that.
girl. I'm good at that sort of stuff.
But you said also Warren set design as well.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's it really is 1973 in a nutshell, isn't it? Just by the colours on the set.
But if I can just throw something
Yeah,
really
yeah,
quickly in here. In the background at the moment, we've got the 73 to refresh us. But I've noticed all the men are wearing shirt and ties.
Yes.
All right, okay.
And that is a very generational thing,
Apart
isn't it?
from
Yeah.
the younger guy, he
Yeah.
doesn't. The younger guy doesn't wear.
Oh God, here's the woman with the teeth.
Oh God! No, her son has got a
That's
collar
what's
and
got
tie on.
But
Yeah.
yet you go forward to the 90s, it's all very casual.
Yeah.
Yes.
And very, very...
Apart from the older members, the older men again, who are wearing shirt and tie,
yeah.
which is what my dad would have done.
Yeah.
If I'd gone, because I always wanted to go on Generation Game with my dad, because I always thought he would have thrown himself into it, and he would have worn a shirt and tie, because
Yeah.
that was what you did to look smart.
Absolutely.
You know, he wore a a smart shirt to go out shopping, for God's sake, you know.
But yeah, so the 73 one and the 1990 one. Do we think the people on it in 1990 are much more media savvy?
They're a bit more media savvy, but once these people start to relax, which Bruce gets them to do, they throw themselves into it with equal vigour.
This is the thing. Bruce is juggling a lot of he's spinning a lot of plates here at the same time, which I think his technique is very good.
And he does it with such ease as well. He's like a swan.
He's got to...
You can't see the paddling.
He's got to make the people feel relaxed and uninhibited.
This is the thing. This is the generational change, isn't it? From the 70s up to the 90s. In the 70s, we were still very...
wary of television.
Yeah, very wary. And it was all very starched still, wasn't it? By the time you get to the 90s, everyone wants to be that star for 5 minutes.
People are more aware of a camera, aren't they?
Absolutely.
But yeah, so Bruce has got to keep the pace of the show up as well, and entertain the audience at home, and the studio audience as well, because we see there's a studio audience.
It's not a huge studio.
No, they've all got party hats on.
And I was surprised how small the studio was. I really was.
I don't know where it's taken.
And I'm just looking at this now. They're still talking to the mother and son from Dorset. He's got a proper Bobby Charlton haircut as well. It's all spammed over his head.
When he bends over, you can see the hair. Can't
it looks fine from the front, and then he bends over, and you can see that there isn't actually.
Like an Undertaker.
And then the younger one, that's a proper 70s outfit.
That's a 70s footballer's hairstyle as well.
And because he's got the jumper and the big collar and the flares.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But taking the clothes away from it, 73 episodes stands up for entertainment value.
I think this is by far the most entertaining one of the bits and pieces we've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, the 1990s one is slick. There's no, but it's less laugh out loud funny.
No.
I think
We were crying watching the 73.
There's something about the amateurism, is it?
Yeah.
It's almost pantomime, isn't it? Yeah.
So there's people being thrown in the deep end, but they're having a good go at it.
They're having a go, you know. They're keeping up with, you know.
And they're not coming across as being stupid.
No.
But, you know, you're feeling... And we said, this is another thing about game shows. You have to care about the people that you're watching by the end of the show, don't you? You have to care that they win or not.
Yeah.
And we you know, because we watch them play your cards right as well. And these are people you've never met, but by the end of it,
you care if they win or not.
On the turn of a card, you're really wanting them to win the car or whatever.
For a 30-minute game show like Play Your Cards Right, he whips up the audience into that frenzy just by turning a card, isn't it?
I mean, this is. I mean, his technique is seamless, really, isn't it? That's the thing. But it's riding on the back of an awful lot of experience, isn't it?
Absolutely. From Sunday night at the London Palladium, he's moving up within the television regime. Up into the early 70s, hitting the big style with Generation Game.
Now, it's interesting that when Bruce leaves, they get Larry Grayson in, who's got a completely different style of doing it.
More mellowed.
Yeah. But he's still very good with the audience. He plays off the audience.
The pilot episode is online for the Larry one, and they've thrown an awful lot of guest stars at it. You know, what was it? The identification round.
Oh yes,
that was
the negative photos.
Yeah.
No, the one with the costume. There's Arthur Mullard as Henry VIII.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And Arthur
Jezebel.
Arthur
Askew as Richard III.
And somebody they identify as Jezebel, played by, what was it, Doris?
Doris.
And it's Cleopatra, played by Barbara Windsor. Yeah.
It's just that wonderful inability to spot
in a Barbara
people.
Windsor outfit.
Yes, with her assets on show.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Larry's clearly nervous in the opening because these are Bruce's. It's big shoes to fill, isn't it?
It is,
absolutely.
and they're still using Bruce's music as well.
Yes,
which was
not
quite
with the singing, but with the actual theme tune.
It was almost a very, very light entertainment. Ronnie Hazelhurst thing.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing you get on the record from the BBC. It's not quite the theme music, but it's there, isn't it?
But yes, it's interesting that they keep the format going, but then Larry has the problem that you can't use any of Brucey's catchphrases as
No,
well.
so he can't say, didn't they do well?
Yeah.
So it's actually telling, because I wondered what he was going to say when they did the conveyor belt at the end. And the person won a lot of prizes. I was thinking, what's he going to say? And he's like, oh, what a lot she's got. And that's actually quite clever, because it fulfills the same thing as, oh, didn't she do well?
Yeah.
But it's not that.
But I think it's interesting that the show was originally designed around Bruce, and if you take him away, how does that alter the show? And it alters it noticeably, but the format itself still actually does work.
And it still works to the fact that they're actually going to be bringing it back again.
Yes, I mean,
very
there's a Jim Davidson reincarnation of it in the 90s. Never mind. So Jethro was quite funny on that.
Quickly to Larry, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
just
sure.
very briefly. The use of the assistant, where we had Anthony Redfern did the introducing of the guests and bringing them on, might appear in something briefly, but Isla St Clair takes a bigger chunk in the Larry to support Larry in his initial stages. And
I think
the pilot was
the
really
73
good idea.
one is very much Brucey's show, and Anthony will come on,
And give us
whereas
12.
they're more of a team with Larry and Isla. I think. I mean, I don't know how that progresses.
I can remember him and Isla doing. Do you remember where the American soldiers came on and did the marching?
Yes. Yes.
And they would always. So I from the memory I have is Isla and
because Larry's all over the place, isn't he? Yeah.
They always took part in something.
Yeah, because they were swinging. Were they doing the swinging of the things?
Oh, the Maori, the London Maoris?
Maori,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it balls on
Swinging
strings?
the
or
balls
something?
on cotton wool balls,
Yeah, and Larry has a go and is just equally as bad as the contestants.
Yes.
I'm not sure Bruce would necessarily have
No, I don't think Bruce
been that
no.
bad.
No.
Bruce would probably be fairly good at it, but with Larry, he's sort of at the level of the contestants almost sometimes.
But Brucey does jump that gap, doesn't he? He bridges that generational gap, because the established audience of parents will look and know what they're getting with Brucey, and the kids will like the entertainment from Brucey.
Yeah. We should say about the conveyor belt as well,
Briefly.
briefly. I mean, it's the traditional thing of they're just shooting through a bit of hole in the set basically, and it's a conveyor belt that's about 4 foot long.
Yeah. Sometimes you can hear things falling off the ends.
So you can see the shadow of the bloke
Shoving it on
at one end. And one of the clips that we saw, something definitely falls off at the end.
Something heavy and expensive.
But it's a real consumer look at the 70s, with all the bits and pieces of tat, it has to be said. Because what was what was the deck chair one?
It's like a fold-up chair.
Fold-up chair.
It
Was
was
the
a
Larry one?
But it was a
It
single
was a Larry
fold-up
one.
chair.
Yeah, just
wasn't it?
one.
Yeah,
One fold-up chair that probably falls over when you
And what was
sit on
it?
it.
The carving plate and knife and fork, wasn't
Yes,
it?
and it's some wonderful tat, and they.
And a tea maker with timer.
It's all right, okay.
Yeah,
But that's the
which
thing.
is like a tease mate, I
It's
suppose.
not about the prizes, is it?
It's about the taking part.
Taking the part, yes. People aren't on there for the £1,000 worth of prizes, which is what people do nowadays. I'm on there for the money. We're going to get this. We're going to reach that. We're going to get the Who Wants a Millionaire top prize. It's not about that.
No.
It's the fun, and that was the thing. It's the fun to watch, and it's the fun to take. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
Would you love to do that?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you make a fool of yourself, which people don't care about, because whoever's done the research and has interviewed the people before they go on there always seem to get it spot on.
Yeah. Again, the selection process is. I'd be interested to know how many people actually did apply.
Yeah.
I
can imagine it was really over.
Yeah, I've no idea. But again, it's something people don't think about very much, because we always say about when you get somebody on a game show and they're really bad at it, you say, well, those are the ones that got through the selection process. Imagine what the people who didn't were like. So it's a sort of, there is a bit of sort of science involved in picking the right sort of people that are not going to be utterly out of their depths, but will be oh, it's the bloke with the hat. Yeah, he's got a green paper hat on, and you can see his hair. Is that his hair?
I'm not sure it's his hair.
No, okay.
It's somebody's hair. It might be Debenham's.
The other thing about Brucey,
Yeah.
Brucey is the guy that you will invite into your home on Saturday night to share time with your family.
Yeah,
And that is the big thing with Brucey.
yeah.
he's the real deal. He's the one you want in your home.
Yeah.
It's not a case of I'm going to watch that because there's nothing else on telly. You really want Bruce in your room, don't you?
But again, it was one of the centerpieces of the Saturday night schedule that's still talked about to this day. It has to be said that it was a rock solid piece of scheduling, really.
And it got viewing figures that the BBC can only dream of these days.
Yeah.
So there we go. Right, well, thank you.
No, thank you.
Anything more to say?
It's been a pleasure, hasn't it? It's been a real pleasure watching these.
It's been great fun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you, Warren.
Yes, thank you, Warren. Another lovely contribution.
Always
from
good to
your
have him
self.
on the sofa, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Now, you just wanted to say a few more things about Brucey.
I did.
Didn't you?
I did, because when the news came on about his death, I was in the canteen at work, and it was a breaking news thing on BBC, on the BBC News Channel, which shows what a big thing it is. And apparently they had a news flash before Pointless, telling people that might not have seen it on the news channel that he died.
Okay.
So that shows you what a big thing it is and how much he was loved. But the general feeling in there was one of sadness.
Yeah.
And still the next day, people were very sad about it. And people that are sort of only 19, 20 who would have only seen him in Strictly Come Dancing were really sad. Oh, yeah, it's really sad. He was really funny. He was a really,
Like you say they were doing his catchphrases.
They would get on the Friday. They were trying to do his catchphrases and getting them all wrong, which was.
Oh, I know.
I was listening through. Sort of, you can't listen through gritted teeth, but you know what I mean.
Gritted ears.
Gritted ears. But it's just shows you how highly he was thought of.
Yeah.
That everybody was sad, and so one of them actually told one of the young lads told one of the women, "Oh, have you heard Bruce Forsyth died?" And it was, like it was a really big thing, which it was. He was a show business legend, and he should be remembered as that.
Okay.
So, and that's all I have to say, I think.
Something else that I'd meant to say at the start,
Oh,
but
right,
utterly
okay.
went out of my head.
All right.
We'd said about Gordon Rollings and Charles Pemberton.
Yes. Doing narration for the Herbs.
Doing the Herbs voices.
various things.
Charles Pemberton taking over for that video.
Yeah.
And we'd said about Gordon Rollings being in the John Smith's
We have
adverts.
Yes.
His son Justin on YouTube has got the entire range of John Smith's adverts on there, and I'd forgotten how good they were. Yes. They are very good. But his mate in them is played by Charles Pemberton.
It's a really small world.
So I think they must have, when they wanted to do that Herbs video, they thought, well, we can't get Gordon, so can we get the bloke that stood next to him?
Next to Gordon, and probably knows the timbre of his voice.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing.
that was nice. But look them up.
Yes, but saying about, just before we go on to the next thing, about you saying about the John Smith advert, how good they are, the John Smith adverts, because it's a very much a thing in the 80s that a lot of the adverts had a little storyline.
Yeah.
Where the John Smith ones were individuals, but of course you got the Gold Blend couple, which was a sort of a bit tedious, really. It was like a mini soap opera, but I'm sure Anthony Head's very pleased because it gave me his big sort of break on television. But yeah, it seemed to be a thing in the 80s that you'd have little storylines in adverts.
Yeah. So, little mini series.
Yeah.
Series and serials.
Whereas the John Smith ones are very much like little playlets. Each one,
but it builds up a world.
It does build up a world.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
they're
and
worth...
of course, the most fondly remembered one is the dog.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the dog that could jump about. Yeah. But they're all on there. Have a look.
Yes.
Justin Rollings' channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
Seek it out.
Yes.
Now we're very pleased to have one of our new voices, or two of our new voices, actually.
And we're staying on the subject of game shows.
Yes, as Sue Perryman talks to her husband Neil about being on Bullseye.
Yes.
In 1989, I believe.
1989, yes. And so we're just going to have a short...
Yes, Sue and Neil will be here after the break.
Yes.
You missed your band of John Smith last night.
My sister was teaching me French. La porte.
What's that?
The door.
What's My Pint of John Smith's is tinged with the colours of a sunset over Scarsdale Crag.
Don't know.
Well, there's no good knowing the advanced stuff when you haven't learned the basics, is it?
John Smith's bitter. It is good.
And we apologise to viewers who may have missed last week's Bullseye, which was shown at an earlier time than Build. Now in stereo, the last in the current series of Bullseye.
Score to beat, Susan. 81. 20. 1. And 122. So the first round to Jim.
So, in about 1989, I ended up on Bullseye because my Uncle Ray came round our house one Sunday for dinner. We were watching Bullseye. And he said, "So," we said, "we should do that." I said, "Yeah, okay then, Ray." So my Uncle Ray was he was supposed to be a bit of a quiz expert. He used to do all the pub quizzes, and he said, "Shall we do it?" And I said, "Yeah." And we did it, and we went in for it.
And you were the dart player?
Yeah, well, when we went for our interview, kind of our audition, they took one look at me and thought I was going to ask the questions because there wasn't very many women played dart, you see, around that time. And I think as soon as I picked my dart up, they went, "Yeah, they're on." Because it was rare, you see, to get a woman playing Bullseye. So there's not many dart players.
So it wasn't down to you,
It
your
wasn't
Uncle Ray's quiz knowledge?
I don't think so.
Which is reflected in what happened in the programme itself. But anyway, we're skipping ahead there a bit. So did you have to go for an audition process, or...?
So to get on Bullseye, I went through this audition process in Darlington, Blackwell Grange Hotel it was, and we went and they kind of got us in a set of 6 people and they just kind of talked to us. So yes, it was like 2 sets of people, 3 sets of teams, like 6 people, and we just kind of went through a dummy run. But there's a dartboard there and I threw a few darts and he asked a few questions. And I think they thought, oh well, yeah, a woman, she's on, that'll do.
So where was the programme recorded, and can you tell us about the actual day itself and how you got there and all the rest of it? Try and just tell us the story of the day.
Do you know, I can't remember.
I think it was Birmingham, it was Central TV.
Central TV, it was definitely Central TV. I think it was in Birmingham. There was me and my Uncle Ray and our Karen and my Auntie Vonnie. We all went down in the car. It was great. We got there, we had a little run through, met Jim Bourne, met Tony Green.
What were they like?
Oh, Tony Green was a bit of a... Well, he has to take me out, actually, Tony Green. He asked if I wanted to go for a drink with him.
He was a bit of a charmer?
He was a bit of a charmer, yeah. I obviously said no.
What was Jim like?
Jim was nice. We didn't get to talk to Jim very much, but he was funny. He said to me, Uncle Ray, he said, "So Ray," he said, "you've been knocked over twice, haven't you?" And Ray told him the story of him being knocked over. He went, "Oh, that's great, super." I thought, no. But no, it was a good day. We got a photograph, we got money, and yeah, it was good.
So tell us about the actual recording. Was it done as live?
Yeah, it was all done as live. I think they did 2 shows a day then. I think they recorded 2 or 3 shows a day, but we were the middle lot, I think. And to be honest with you, you know, there's a bit where they give you the money. They don't really give you the money, you know. They give you a cheque afterwards, and which is a bit of a... Because I was like really looking forward to that. I thought, I'll go and be able to put some fuel in the car, get some food in. We had to wait for like weeks for the cheque to come. I was furious. And we would have gambled. We didn't win. We came second. We won £330, me and my Uncle Ray. And then they take you up into the little green room and they say to you, "Right, so if these don't get anywhere, do you want to go back on?" We said, yeah, definitely go back on to go for the board or for the car or whatever. But we didn't get a chance because the people, they kind of just went for it.
So how do you feel about your actual dart playing on the day?
Oh, it was terrible. I wasn't very good, really. But I was better than my Uncle Ray.
You did score a century, didn't you?
No, I think I scored 65. I don't know, I can't remember now. But I did okay. I hit what I was going for in terms of the questions on the board. But my Uncle Ray, I mean, he's dead now, bless him. But he could have been a bit more... because what Jim Bourne said, he said, listen, he said, if you don't know the first name, just say the second name. Right. Which is obvious, yeah? So one of the questions was... Charlene Tilton, who played a particular on Dallas, yeah, and he said, I'm sure he said Darlene Tilton or something instead of saying Tilton or Chilton. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah.
So any other, how did you get on with the other contestants? Any other stories that happened on the day that you'd like to tell us about?
I remember watching it back thinking, God, my hair's a proper mullet. I remember thinking, what was I wearing? Green and blue, I think. It was like just terrible. I remember going into makeup and the woman kind of, obviously she didn't do many women because obviously it was always the blokes. But she said, yeah, you're fine, you don't need too much. And she just let me go. So I thought, oh, well, that was nice of her.
So did you get any time to like practice? Did you have like a dummy run at it?
Yeah, you had a little dummy run, but it was not the same as kind of... We had a little dummy run, it was like a board up, and we had a little one walk through. So basically we had a rehearsal, and that's when we had a chance to throw the darts, but it wasn't really I can just practice. It wasn't like that.
Was it very competitive?
Well, yeah, we were playing for money, of course it was.
How much money did you win, do you remember?
I think we won £330 between us. 160 quid each, I think it was, or £155 each or something.
What did you do with your share?
Oh God, I can't remember. Probably bought Nicola Pram or something. I don't know.
Super smashing great.
Oh, it was smashing great, yeah. No, it was good. It was a good day. What I remember the most about the day, though, was actually in the green room afterwards, and I was talking to somebody called Grundy. Obviously, he was Grundy, the guy who does...
His name was Grundy?
No, I think it's Ted Grundy, he does all the formats.
Right.
I remember talking about snooker, because obviously dart is a working class sport, isn't it? Well, it was then. And in our family, we all played darts, and my dad played snooker. And he said to me this, I'm sure it was Ted Grundy, but it was definitely, his name was Grundy, and he said to me, have you had a great day? I said, you know what, I have actually, it's been really, really good. He said, do you like darts? I said, love darts. I said, but you know what? I said, you could do something like this with snooker. He went, well, you can't really, because not many people can play snooker. I said, no, I said, you get people to, like, do the shots. I said, and you get people like us who aren't very good to do the questions.
Are you saying you invented Give Us a Break?
Do you know what? In my head, yes. To this day, I'm responsible for that format, I think.
Nothing to be proud of.
No, I know, but you know.
Which actress plays Lucy Ewing in Dallas? No light on. Put your light on. Bull is in, we can offer it to Ray.
Darling Tilton.
Sorry, Ray, it's Charling Tilton.
Yeah.
Awfully sorry about that. Very close, which leaves the scores exactly as they were. Which means at the end of game 2, we've got Alan and Andrew with £160, George and Jim £477, and Ray and Susan £330. So we've got to say cheerio to Alan and Andrew and Ray and Susan. In you come, the four of you. Come on, Susan. Well done, Andrew. All right. Oh, yeah. You say that again. It is harder than it looks. You sit at home, don't you, and say, well, I can do that. Not as easy as all that. Alan and Andrew, £160, I shall count out. 330 for Ray and Susan. Keep your eye on the game, we may need you later, all right? You've been a smashing lot to be here. I said smashing, just for the viewers. See you in 2 minutes.
And thank you very much to Sue for her memories of appearing on Bullseye,
Very
and thank you to
interesting.
Neil for interviewing.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time we've had a game show contestant on here, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
But a few extra words about Bullseye as well. We've just got episode 1 playing in the background. Warren, why did you hold your hand up at that point, Warren, for the opening titles?
There were several points standing out.
It was quite cold, obviously, when they did the animation.
Yes, there's some animated ladies in the title sequence. In the title sequence, and yes,
they have
It was quite cold.
Yes, I think that's what I will say. Yes, those ladies seem to disappear later on in the course of the series. They seem to be edited out, but. Yeah, Lisa, you have memories of watching Bullseye,
I do have memories
don't you?
of watching Bullseye, because Bullseye was on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Sunday, about 6 o'clock, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my family used to watch it, and I used to watch it whilst doing my homework.
Yeah.
Ready for school the next day, which is probably not the best time to do your homework while you're watching Bullseye, because you're probably not paying attention enough to your homework to actually be doing it properly. But again, I used to sit on the sofa, homework up on my knees, and do my homework watching Bullseye.
But you also said you had a dartboard as well.
We had a dartboard that was on a piece of wood that would be hung over the kitchen door frame. So if you were going to go in and out of the kitchen, you had to say, I'm going in the kitchen. So you didn't get darts thrown at you. And I'm coming out of the kitchen.
Did you have any near misses?
No, they would stop. But you'd have to duck under it as well, because you
Yeah.
need to take up the sort of top third of the doorway.
Well, there's the Hancock's Half Hour where Sid's playing darts and Hancock comes in and he only gets a dart in the face, and he looks at the all the holes around the board and he goes, "Oh, that explains it. I've been treating that dwarf woodworm for the past 3 weeks." But yeah. But as you said, Warren, everybody had a dartboard.
Yeah, I remember in the 70s that friends, relatives, there was always a dartboard. And I can remember still going to the pub in the 80s, and darts was still a big thing.
Yeah,
still is now. But
yeah.
But darts then was, it was like a regular occurrence going to the pub. Not having sport on the telly. Having television in a pub was very rare.
Yeah.
A dartboard was your entertainment, wasn't it? Or shove halfpenny, or things like that. But yeah, I can remember
you were saying that there's a sort of line from this from Indoor League as well, isn't it? Which was Fred Truman with his pint of beer and his pipe, watching people play Skittles and shove halfpenny and bar billiards and things like that, which is a little bit before Bullseye. Weirdly, that's been released on DVD.
Wow!
Yes,
I mean, because they've cherry picked something that's still popular in the psyche, and they've gone with the board game. They've gone with that.
But yeah, I mean, Sue said about Big Break as well, snooker.
Well, technically, she said, "Give us a break."
No, Neil said, "Give us a break."
And she
that's probably what she said. Yeah.
Though we blame Neil for you ordering "Give us a break."
We now have "Give us a break" on DVD.
What is Give us a break?
It's a sitcom of kinds, a comedy sort of drama with. I don't really know much about it because we only just got it. Robert Lindsay, T.P. McKenna, a very young Paul McGann.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And various
Shireen
other
Taylor's
people.
in it.
Shireen Taylor from Coronation
Street.
Street.
Alexi Sales in.
Yeah, Alexi Sales in it as well. Yeah, and it seems to be about a snooker player in Liverpool. That's all I know at the moment because we haven't watched any of it.
Okay,
so
I'd never heard of that one.
No,
but
that's right.
it's. I do not know what accent T.P. McKenna's doing. I don't think he knew either.
But I've got a darts story because Have you ever seen me play darts, Warren?
No, I've never seen you play darts.
You didn't know that I once played darts?
No, I didn't know.
Well, when I say I once played darts, I stopped playing darts when I was at the youth club at Wimble St Giles. I was dreadful at darts, but they'd organised a tournament. It was doubles tournament. It was me and somebody else were teamed up. He was very good.
Yeah.
I was pretty rubbish. So, he'd be scoring, 60 to 100-ish. I'd be like 1-5 out the board. But somehow he was good enough that he compensated for me and we got through to the final.
Wow.
Yes, I'd never been in a darts final.
Yeah.
Now, this is only a village, thing, so it's not anything to write home about. But he was, again, in the final round, he was doing all the work and I was just getting sort of 20 here and there. And we got to the point where we needed 50 to win the entire tournament. I go up to the ocky. Up to the ocky. I throw. I hit a bullseye.
Blimmin' heck.
Wow.
I stood there. Time stopped for several seconds as I couldn't believe what had just happened. I scored a bullseye and we won.
Wow.
We got a little trophy.
Yeah.
I got to keep it for a week or whatever. And then you had to hand it back. Well, the next tournament. I never played darts again after that because I was never going to beat that.
Left on that high.
Leave that in people's memories.
Wow.
Leave them wanting more, as Pertwee might have said. Yeah, but I could not believe that I'd done that. I don't claim any skill. It was my flailing about had happened to flail in the right direction in a 1 in a million chance.
Wow.
So that was it. So that never played darts again. Well, not that I let anybody see anyway. Well, have to get a board in now, Warren. Yeah.
We'll have to get a board in now. But before we do go,
yes,
catchphrases from Bullseye.
Yes. All right.
Let's go through them. Can we get a catchphrase? You don't get anything for two in a bed.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Now you put me on the spot now. I
can't beat a bit of bully.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, look what you could have won.
Yes. Oh, hello, Rose is running past.
Or here's your bully.
You wanted to say briefly one about set design, didn't you? On Bullseye.
Yeah, how basic it was.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I mean, this is the first episode here.
Yeah.
And they haven't spent that much money on it.
No.
Because this is still an ATV production at this point.
Yeah, so this has been...
so it becomes Central when Central takes over.
Do you think then that they were going for, okay, this is a first series, let's see how it goes?
Yes, I think it's very much that this might work or it might not, but if it doesn't work, we haven't spent too much on it.
Yeah, because it looks as though it's got bits and pieces from other game shows brought in there.
Yeah.
Do you remember a game show called Master Spy on ITV?
Master Spy, no.
I remember that.
Is that William Franklin?
It was William Franklin, yes.
Oh, blimey.
That's all I know about it, though.
And there's...
What did that involve?
I can't remember. This is the thing, and I cannot find anything on there to remind me what. They had to be spies and carry out missions, I think, to win prizes. But that's as far as it goes. But we're looking at the set at the moment, and that is very much the set they used to sit behind on the desk and Master Spy.
Okay.
And that that just jumped into my head there. Yeah.
Oh, I like the fact this bloke's got Alan and David on a sticker on his chest.
Yeah, but they've all got stickers with both their names on it.
Yeah, so that Jim knows who the bloke throwing the darts is.
Yeah.
It's almost like saying to Jim, this way up, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, I do remember Jim's wonderful rotating board of questions.
Jim's priceless, isn't he?
Yeah. But then again, Jim's got, he's a professional with his sort of stand-up routine and stuff. I mean, you were saying how he tells a brilliant story about the dreadful contestants. I don't want to go into too much detail here.
It's on YouTube if you're interested in seeing it. But he tells a story about two contestants who disappear in the first round, and they discover the free bar.
Yeah, there was meant to be a barman serving you, wasn't there?
Yeah, but they went home sick.
Oh, right.
So they had unlimited alcohol. So what happened was they thought they'd flunked out. They won £20. And... then you have the two other...
spell concomitant.
Oh, yes.
There you are. For £10 or something. You said that was quite difficult.
That's quite difficult for a £10 question, yeah.
Anyway, back to your story.
So the two other sets of contestants all win some money, but they don't want to go for the star prize.
Right.
So they have to stop recording and go and find these other two contestants, the dart player and the non-dart player, by which time they're absolutely slaughtered. And they're ploughing black coffee down them, and all they've won is £20, and they don't want to give up their £20.
Right.
They just don't want to give up their £20 at all, and we're not going to have a show if we don't get these people on. So the producer comes down from the box, bribes them with another £20, says, look, your quid's in, you're going to win, keep your £20, you won't lose your £20 out of my own pocket, there you go. So they roll on to the set, still steaming drunk, and Jim goes, well done, you let's just recap, you won £20. And they went, no we didn't, we won 40. Well, he's just given me another 20 round the corner to come on. It was the only unbroadcast episode.
Oh, they just couldn't show it.
They couldn't show it. It was so bad, and they didn't win the prize because they were so drunk the darts went off the board.
Oh, fantastic!
I would just say that before we wrap it up, that you were saying about people scoring sort of 5s and 1s and stuff, and I used to watch it with my parents, and my dad would always say, why are they going for the 20s? Because they never hit the 20s. Why don't they go for the 19 and all the ones at the bottom, which could add up to more? But obviously, the camera's if they did that, they'd have to probably reshoot it because the camera's always focused on the top part of the.
Absolutely.
I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands because you can't see.
That's right.
The top part of
Lisa's demonstrating camera angles.
Dartboard, which is the 5, the 20, and the 1.
20 and the 1. Yeah.
They must have at least 5 multi-cameras here because the shots we're getting.
At the moment. Yeah, that's a good point actually because they don't know where it's going to go, do they? So let's just see, because you've got the wide shot there, and then they've actually, when he throws the dart, they cut
and you don't see where it's going,
where it lands. Yeah. Now that's a good point. I'd not thought about that. Yeah, so they leave
the dart in situ, then put the camera angle.
There's a wide shot and then several, because you can't. That's the thing, because it's a game show. Unless you can't edit it in afterwards. They've got to. That's the thing. They say where they're aiming for. So, but there's also
I'm going for history.
Yeah, I'm going.
So the camera's going to
going for history. So but if it'd be good now if somebody could miss in this next shot, so we could see what happens.
They never smash any of the panels, do they?
Yeah.
Well, there he did miss.
Oh no,
got spelling.
Yeah.
Instead.
So the camera would have probably been aimed. Yes, that's That's worth watching for, actually.
So that's going to be quite an expensive show to do then, if it's multi-camera.
I don't know. I mean,
well, you got one on the ground board. You got two on the contestants because you got the wide shot and then the single shot, and then you got one on Jim with his cheap.
Oh, with his tungsten darts and his chalk holder.
The days before you had Bully.
Oh, we should say about the consolation prizes as well. It's real Al Murray, isn't it? Because it's a tankard for the gentleman
and a goblet for the lady.
And a goblet for the lady. Because the rules are a pint of beer for the gentleman and a glass of wine or a fruit-based drink for the lady.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they get.
And a chalk holder.
And the chalk holder.
That the chalk falls out of.
Yeah, the second one hasn't got any chalk in it, has it?
Yeah.
Would this idea work today, though?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
It's been redone.
They have redone it.
Yeah.
Was it
Challenge?
Because
Yeah.
Dave
I
Spikey did it.
Yeah.
And was it Vernon Kay?
Vernon Kay did it for something.
Yeah.
Oh, he did Family Fortunes as well and slaughtered
There is
that.
a title sequence with Dave Spikey's head looming in instead of Jim Bowen's. I'll show you that later.
Well, all I can say is you can't beat a bit of Bully.
Yeah.
That'll do. Thank you, Warren.
Bye.
It's only a game, so put up a real good fight. I'm gonna be snickering you tonight. I'm famed for my aim, so you better believe I'm right. I'm gonna be snickering you tonight.
Hello.
Hello.
We're back with an
We are.
addendum to our addendum.
Yeah, we're going lots of addendums.
Yeah, we meant to talk about Big Break, but we
did.
sort of
We got distracted by Give Us a Break.
Give Us a Break.
Yeah.
Yes, Big Break is sort of, I guess, the BBC's attempt to do Bullseye.
Oh, a Bullseye type
or
thing.
a Bullseye type thing.
With snooker.
I just sort of did a sort of quick look at it, and I was amazed how long it ran for. Because it ran for something like 222 episodes, that's right, yes.
Gosh.
Running from 1991 to 2002.
Right, okay.
Okay, so snooker game show, as we said.
Yeah.
But the first episode's directed by Nick Hurren.
Yes. Who's more known for dramas and comedies and things.
But Nick Hurren started off directing Telly Addicts, Never the Twain.
Yes.
He only seems to direct the first episode of Big Break, according to IMDb. I don't know whether that's right or not. Okay. But he did Boone.
Yeah.
Outside Edge. Well, that's cricket.
It's cricket, yeah. But that's a comedy drama.
Yes. The remake of The Prisoner in 2009, but his Doctor Who episodes, Day of the Doctor, Angels Take Manhattan, Asylum of the Daleks, God Complex, and Girl Who Waited.
All good stories.
So there you are.
Yeah.
But and whilst Big Break's running, I think the BBC try to have a sort of another bite at the cherry, don't they? And they think, could we do a successful game show that's based on golf?
Yes.
And the answer is no. They can't do a successful game show.
It was rubbish.
Because this is the infamous Full Swing, isn't it, Lisa?
It is.
Now,
yes.
Do you remember seeing Full Swing?
Oh, I think I may have seen a couple of episodes.
Yes, this is Jimmy Tarbuck. I was going to say Jimmy Tarbrush again. Sorry, that was a few issues ago. Jimmy Tarbuck. Get it right. And it runs for a very long run. It runs from the 25th of May 1996 to the 27th of July 1996 and gets pulled. Very poor ratings, apparently. Right. They did record a Christmas special, but they never broadcast it because the series was so badly received.
It was that awful.
There is an edition knocking around on YouTube if you really want to go and
it's
look.
Breathtaking in its awfulness because it's got really rubbish animation in the opening titles.
Yeah, the animation is shoddy. I'm sorry. And
the opening shot is...
Tarbuck drives in, doesn't he?
Yeah, on a golf cart. But he doesn't start driving until the music stops.
Well,
so he's not already driving when it starts.
Well,
he actually waits
cuts
to stop.
To the studio. Yeah. He's sitting in a cart, and then he starts it up.
Yes, obviously somebody waved at him to start driving.
Yeah, and cue Jimmy.
Yeah.
Ho ho. That's my Jimmy impression. Right. Anyway, we better get a shift on because I've looked at the edit, and this episode's going to be extremely long. So let's stop.
Sorry.
Better not faff anymore.
No.
Now, part 2 of the interview that Warren did with us a long time ago now.
A long time ago, yeah.
And
about
then
3 months ago.
And we'll listen to that, and then we'll be back very shortly.
Okay.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
What impact has a presenter had on you that you feel you like that person, you'd like to meet that person?
I would always. I haven't seen him on the Adventure Game. I'm not so sure now, but Johnny Ball for me. Johnny Ball. He's a great presenter, even if he doesn't actually know what he's talking about, which he plainly doesn't. I haven't seen him on other things. He makes it sound like he does, and he sort of makes it an engaging subject. So yeah, Johnny Ball for me.
It's so hard to narrow it down to one for me, because there was an awful lot of, and indeed, as you said, watching the Adventure Game back, there was an awful lot of very good science presenters when I was small, and probably their combined effect was to, get me into science. So people like Magnus Pike, James Burke, Patrick Moore, all these people who Heitzwolf, who were all a bit strange, it has to be said, but they were also very, very clever. Having read some of Patrick Moore's biography, I'm not sure I'd agree with him politically about everything. No. But he was a very good presenter.
He was engaging,
getting across enthusiasm, and that was the thing, to engage the viewer at home, that what he was talking about was interesting. I think Patrick was interesting because he was very good science, but he was an amateur. That's the thing. He was actually an amateur astronomer. It wasn't, a profession for him. But then he was also, he had a very good sense of humour. He'd appear on the goodies.
Yeah.
You could always rely on him to do something silly on the goodies. And he was also musical as well. I never was. But he could play the xylophone. And that, to me, seemed a very good combination of traits.
Wasn't he on Record Breakers? Wasn't he?
Quite possibly, yeah. So, yes, I would disagree with Patrick about some things, but in terms of actual presenting, he was very good. And I always looked forward to The Sky at Night, because it was only on once a month. Yeah. So it was a treat, actually. Yeah. It wasn't overused, I think.
So do you think 70s and 80s experts like Patrick were more eccentric than they are now?
I think there was less concern with sort of appearance. I think because, frankly, most of those people I've named are a bit shambolic.
Yeah,
a bit shabby
in terms of how they're turned out, aren't they? They're not pin-up people or anything like that.
No.
The thing is, do they know what they're talking about? Yes. Are they engaging to listen to? Yes. I mean, Magnus Pike.
Yeah.
I mean, you see him on the few things, because we've got him on a few whodunits and things like that, and his presentation style is extremely eccentric.
Yes.
But it's not put on.
That's just him.
Because as a kid, you would pick up if somebody was putting something on. I think if somebody
putting on wackiness,
if somebody was trying to be wacky or eccentric,
you can tell.
You'd see through that. I think, even as a kid. Whereas these people, that's the way they were. Lisa, are scientists all strange?
Yes.
Oh.
Even I could see that one coming.
I was hoping you would defend us a bit.
That doesn't make you wrong.
I would say that
they're all a bit eccentric.
You don't have to be mad to be a good scientist.
But it does help.
But it doesn't hurt.
So do you think audiences will accept idiosyncrasies like that now? Or would they just go, somebody just trying to be mad for the sake of being on telly?
I don't know. I generally don't know, because you have the problem now that things are more designed by committee, aren't they? There's less room, I think, for individuals and unique individuals, and that is possibly a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yes, you've got some very good science programmes being done now.
But all the presenters are a little bit more smooth.
Yeah, but they are a bit more professional, and maybe that's the way things
are now.
Yeah,
because I don't think people would accept it.
I do lament the sort of mixed bag of
David Bellamy's.
Yes, of oddballs that were allowed to have half an hour on telly on a regular basis. Yes.
And here's the dream question, just to round up. Which episode from any series that you could ever think of that is missing would you like to see again?
Ooh.
That's always the
single
Willy Wonka
episode,
question, isn't it?
Single episode.
All right, then go for a series. Go for a series. I'll be generous and go for a series.
Lisa?
I'd go for Ace of Wands. The Mr. Stab story.
All right.
Is it
Seven Serpents, Sulphur and Salt.
Yes.
So that is allegedly
very good.
Very good.
Or just anything from series 1 or 2, so that you've got some Tony Selby and Judy Lowe. Because you've got a lot of all of series 3, haven't you? But
yes, series 3
nothing
is complete,
at
but
all
nothing from series 1 or 2.
1 or 2. So just something from series 1 or 2, just to see Selbs. Really.
I would love to see episode 12 of Dalek Master Plan.
Oh yeah, that too.
Just to see.
See, I was avoiding Doctor Who.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Ooh. Just to see whether it's as good as it sounds. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's apparently done on film, and just to see Jean Marsh's sort of aging scene. Just to see how well. That's the thing, because you've heard this on audio. You don't know whether it's going to be as good as your imagination. I don't know.
Interesting you say that. I would like to see Kevin Stoney's death scene to see what his expression is when he's killed.
Yeah, but then
astonishment.
But then having said that, I would absolutely love to see the Feast of Stephen as well. Yeah. I mean, it might be dreadful. It might be dreadful, but
it's funny.
But given that all the paperwork seems to indicate we'll never see it. I just want that paperwork to be proved wrong. So yeah.
You said you'd quite like to see the massacre as well, didn't you?
Yeah. The massacre is a solid. It's not piece of work. But yeah, I think Master Plan's got those two completely different episodes, which are from the same story.
But just about 6 weeks apart.
Yeah, and I think that
with deadly contrast, isn't it?
Yes, they're so utterly different, but. Yeah, they're so close to each other. Yeah, so yeah, those would be mine, I think. Thank you, Mr. Warren, for interviewing us.
Warren. It was very nice of you and interesting questions.
Now we know what it feels like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most weird.
Just a very quick update to the last bit of the previous bit of the interview section where we said about Emu's Pink Windmill Show, and you couldn't remember the name of the robot.
Yes.
And it is?
Robot Redford.
And who told you that?
Russell, my nephew.
Russell
Pingelli. Thank you, Russell.
Who is a listener?
He was a listener, and you may be hearing from him in the future.
We should interview Russell because he likes his classic telly, doesn't he?
Yes.
But as we said, we better get a shift on.
Yeah.
So we will now have a piece about the BBC series Angels.
Yes.
And we're very pleased to have another guest voice.
Yes, a new contributor.
As Mr. Paul Ebbs.
Yes, talks about angels.
So here he goes.
Hello, I'm Paul Ebbs, and I'm here to talk about one of my favourite TV shows, Angels, which ran on the BBC from 1975 until 1983, and also to bang on about why I think it's one of the most influential and socially important programmes of the 1970s. TV loves a good medical soap or drama, doesn't it? Once you excise all the police procedural, sport and reality shows, what you're left with is a bunch of medical programmes and the odd episode of Doctor Who. The BBC has 3 medical series of its own that run for most of the year, as well as straight dramas set in the medical world. Hello, Dr. Foster, and trust me, it's bums on seats, tastic and big business. And expressing personal interest here, 2 of them I've written for over the years, Casualty and Doctors. Sidebar, I was very pleased that Doctors had a doctor in the title, because that was 50% of the show I really wanted to write for. Anyway, UK medical soaps like Doctors, Casualty and Holby City these days mix realistic depiction of illness and their moral dimensions, their gore and their pain, with soapy, ongoing stories of love, life and disappointment for their regular characters. On the drama side, as opposed to soap, because soap and drama are not the same thing at all, both trying to do entirely different things. You also get the hard-nosed, hyper-real, high-octane drama in a hospital setting. This sort of started in the UK with Jed Mercurio writing as John McCure, creating the genius series Cardiac Arrest, through to Jed Mercurio writing as Jed Mercurio his brilliant series Body, to the complete change represented by the almost real-time Critical, written by hang on, does anybody else in British TV write the stuff? No? Just him? Okay, moving on. But it wasn't ever thus. In the 50s and 60s, the medical soap was just as popular, but shows like Emergency Ward 10 were entirely different beasts altogether from their modern-day counterparts. Here it was the medical fantasy, where doctors and consultants were gods performing hourly miracles, and their acolyte nurses only nursed until they snagged a doctor to marry, or they could leave and do the ironing for a living. Everything was cosy and paternalistic, and sexist, and jolly and lovely and spiffing, and sexist. They were like Carry On Matron without the double entendres, and any depiction of the slog and grind of being a nurse was almost completely glossed over. These were the days only nice young ladies nursed, carrying on the tradition of Flo, the lady with the lamp. Selfless girls who epitomised the vocational nature of nursing. They were clean, sprightly, and loved the job to its very starched apron and frilly cuffs. And at this point, I have to declare a second interest. Apart from being a writer, I'm also a nurse, a psychiatric nurse to be precise. I left nursing in 2001 to write medical soaps for the BBC at Doctors, talk about busman's holiday. So the depiction of my pre-writing profession has always been of interest to me. Anyway, back to the 60s. Here was the fantasy NHS being presented as a world of rosy optimism, dashing doctors, demure nurses, and absolutely no one was plopping a coughed up lung into a kidney bowl. So when exactly did reality splash down into the middle of medical drama? Hold your horses, not yet. Right, where was I? Oh yeah, lungs being coughed up into kidney bowls. However, while Emergency Ward 10 was still peddling the impossible dream NHS, a couple of important things happened. In 1966, Dennis Potter wrote Emergency Ward 9. He was a writer of rare brilliance who spent a lot of time in hospital because of his crippling psoriasis, who recognised that audiences were being shortchanged by medical soaps. Real hospitals were not at all like how they were being depicted on TV. He recognised, as a dramatist, there was a rich vein of social dissonance to be mined with his writing. One of the many intentions of Emergency Ward 9 is to point out the difference between the cosy unreality of the image presented by the medical soap on TV and the reality of the coughing, racist, bowel opening, privacy invading, illness raddled hospital ward. As W.S. Gilbert says in his Potter study, Fight and Kick and Bite, the characterizations of nurses as angels and patients as nobly suffering are equally romanticized and idealized, and perhaps merit a more prosaic representation than the soap opera can portray. Oh look, that word, angels, there it is at last. Not yet. Stop cutting to the chase. Stick with me, because there is just one more stop along the way before we get to the subject of this piece. 3 years after Potter's Emergency Ward 9, playwright Peter Nichols scored a huge hit with his play at the National Theatre entitled The National Health, or Nurse Norton's Affair. In it, he went one stage further than Potter and had the soap opera NHS come alive on stage amid the blood and the pain and the reality. Here it played out as a mirror of and resonance on the stark reality of a hospital stay. I must now apologise, as again I have to declare a third and last, I promise, interest. I acted in a production of the National Health when I was at drama college, playing one of the fantasy doctors from its small screen fantasy soap of breathless, sexy nurses and dashing doctors. Yes, I did say I played a dashing doctor. Stop laughing at the back. Nichols' play, The National Health, was another important step along the way to finding a method of presenting hospital life realistically, in a vastly different form to its hackneyed soap opera portrayal. It took a few more years to filter through to mainstream popular telly, and as independent TV was only interested in continuing the fantasy with Emergency Ward 10 morphing into the afternoon soap of General Hospital, it was left to the BBC to pick up Potter and Nichols' baton and try something new. Whether they were influenced by the US network's hit MASH, I have no idea. That was a comedy, of course, not a drama, but had realistic, dramatic elements. Predictably, it only had one woman in it, and she was a near-nymphomaniac. And as a show, it was much more about rebellion and iconoclasm than anything medical. Enter Paula Milne. It's typical that I started this talk by praising male writers for laying the groundwork for more truthful explorations of medical drama, when without this brilliant and largely overlooked TV writer, there would be no Angels at all. Milne left school at 15 with no qualifications and eventually turned up at ATV as a script reader via Secretarial College and Art and Film School. Male writers in the 60s just seemed to go to Oxbridge and then ask for a writing slot, and they got one, possibly on the Wednesday play. Milne, being a woman, had to do it the hard way. She eventually started her writing career on soaps such as Crossroads and for children on Exploration Man, before getting a script reader's job at the BBC in 1975. There she pitched the idea of Angels to producer Ron Craddock, initially as a documentary, but then after discussion and tweaking as a drama. Angels was the right show at the right time. It landed squarely in the middle of a decade where social change was one of the prevalent themes and ripe for representation on the small screen. Even Doctor Who, that bastion of the screaming dolly bird, saved by a man, had feminist companions by this time, and as such the notion that nurses were just NHS doctors' handmaidens was ready for dispelling in the popular drama sphere. Milne's writing, according to her BFI biography, had always put women's representation to the fore, and here in Angels she created a workplace precinct drama where every single lead character was a female student nurse, each swallowed up by a huge, forbidding South London teaching hospital. I'm convinced, although I'm sure there are people out there who tell me different, Angels was just about the first non-crime workplace drama to deal exclusively with characters who were neither thrusting boardroom executives, hello power game and planemakers, or set in middle-class legal or media workplaces, exemplified by shows like The Main Chance or Compact. In fact, it wasn't really middle-class focused at all, and that was a real change for this kind of drama. Angels reeks of difference from the first episode. For a start, it's a medical drama that doesn't begin with a medical problem or a punter about to fall down a manhole. It starts with a real contrast to what we might expect. It's telling us it's focusing on characters rather than hospital action. This is a drama which wants to tell stories about the women in and out of their uniforms from the off and give each end of the continuum equal weight. The first character we see, Maureen, played by Erin Geraghty, is a bug Irish girl. We can tell she's from BBC Ireland because there's a car from the 1930s and a boy walking a donkey on a piece of string. Maureen's getting ready to leave home, and she's not sure about the commitment she's about to make. But her mother, who was forced to give up her nursing career to raise a family, spends time on reassuring her. In opposition to this, we see Patricia, played by Fiona Fullerton, a pretty upper-middle-class girl buying horrible, unsexy nurse shoes in upper-middle-class Bath, saying goodbye to her upper-middle-class daddy in their idyllic upper-middle-class mansion home. We know she's BBC upper-middle-class because her daddy is played by Geoffrey Palmer. This contrast is to show us the egalitarian nature of the nursing profession in the modern 70s. No longer the province of the demure and sparkly girl from a well-to-do family who hasn't yet harpooned a husband. Patricia's soon to go down to that dirty London town to become a student nurse, and you really rather fancy her dad would prefer her to become a secretary or married, or fetch up in Emergency Ward 10. But as Patricia says, it's not up for discussion, Daddy. Then boom, we're in the gloomy Nightingale ward of St Angela's General Hospital in Battersea, and there are rows of grim metal beds full of men. Such is the allure of male medical. Surely now, though, we're going to get some nursing that is utterly glamorous and eyelash fluttering towards frightfully handsome doctors, or some spiffing falling in love with sad but hunky patients recovering from rugger injuries. Nope. We get cherub-faced Joe, played by Julie Dawn-Cole, rubbing moisturising cream into an old codger's inflamed elbow. Joanne Whalley greasing Michael Gambon, who is desperately thinking about the most boring thing he can to stave off a case of priapic euphoria. It isn't. But it's also as far away from Emergency Ward 10 and General Hospital as it's possible to be. Setting our focus on the students was Milne's genius with Angels, whereas you'd expect our previous nurses to glide along serenely and fragrantly, wafting their deliciousness under the noses of the nearest doctor, but were also portrayed as professionally complete, the finished article, so to speak, all having that practical air of someone who knows the right thing to say at the right time, every time. No, in Angels, our focus characters are flawed and scared, unsure, or as in Patricia's case, full of bravado built on the quicksand of their anxiety. The tutors think Patricia is just a poor little rich girl playing at nursing. Maureen is filled with guilt about leaving her home and her mummy. She's homesick and unhappy. TV nurses before Maureen were only disaffected with unrequited love or jealousy. They were never unhappy with the job of nursing. That was a no-no. Every girl wanted to be a nurse or a secretary, didn't they? As the series unfolded, the strains and pressures of training to be a nurse were explored. The exams, the tensions with the tutors, the failures of assessments. This was no recruiting video for the NHS in the sense that it made everything look wonderful or Vaseline smeared. In fact, the only Vaseline smeared thing you'd find in Angels would be glinting on the colonoscopy tray. And it's that sense of reality that sets Angels apart. One of the best scenes in the first series is the student nurses all sat around the table in the canteen, smoking and bitching about other nurses. Nurses smoking, nurses bitching, fabulous. When I became a student nurse in the late 80s, that was every lunchtime, every day. The documentary style of the initial Angel setup is reflected in the way each episode centres on one or two nurses. Rather than being the kind of ensemble piece we'd be used to with something like Casualty, where everyone gets a look in, it allows themes to be explored fully, rather than zooming by at 2,000 miles per hour. In an Angels episode, the camera follows one or two nurses around, telling that particular story with depth, allowing it the time to develop. The writers went to hospitals in London and Manchester to get a feel for the environment and to spend time with student and qualified nurses. Accuracy was at the heart of and one of the great strengths in the show. So was the fact that out of the 10 writers on the programme, 6 of them were women, not including Paula Milne, quite an innovation for a mainstream adult 50-minute drama at the BBC. This use of writers like Adele Rose, Anne Varley and Jill Hyam brought a freshness to the series and a different attitude to writing women in the 70s. As Adele Rose said in an interview with Joan Bakewell from the Radio Times, the documentary style of the show really clicked for her when she realised Angels wasn't about nurses' love lives. And although some of the characters have boyfriend and lechy doctor trouble on occasions, it's contrasted by the thread of nurse Shirley Brent. She's lonely and awkward, formal and restrained. She failed her exams at another hospital, so has to come to St Angela's to resit them. She's not a footloose and fancy-free nurse. She's taken a knock and is battling her own internal demons while trying to save face. She's complex and full of pathos. And that's another of the defining characteristics of Angels as a drama, the complexity of the female characters and the stories of anxiety, depression, alcoholism, sexual promiscuity, and in later years a gritty realism that drew considerable complaints from the nursing and political establishment. They really didn't like this unflattering portrayal of the profession. Here, I think the old adage really holds true. If you're making some people unhappy with the art you make, then you must be doing the right thing. As a nurse myself, even one who was too young to enjoy the series when it first arrived, I really do value this uncompromising portrayal of my particular coalface. In later years, Angels dropped the 50-minute episode format and became a twice-weekly soap, overseen by producer Julia Smith and Tony Holland, and pretty much became a dry run for EastEnders, which they would go on to create in 1985, when the BBC decided a twice-weekly soap opera was the thing missing from the schedules. Well, it had been missing for 2 years when they cancelled the twice-weekly soap of Angels. So, wrapping up, if you want to see Angels for yourself, it's a little more difficult. Simply Media have released the first 2 series on DVD, but have not followed it up with any releases since 2014. There are 7 more series to follow. Like many long-running dramas, it was shown on UK Gold in the 90s, but unless you recorded it, I didn't stupidly, you've got very little chance of seeing anything outside the first 2 years. There are a number of tie-in novels of fair to middling quality. I was disappointed to see that some of them focused on boy trouble for the main characters, which kind of goes against the ethos of the show. There were 3 world distributor annuals as well, 1977, 78 and 79, with various comic strips and fictions. Where they are better than the novels is that they do include interviews with people like Ron Craddock and the actors, plus character notes, and in one of the annuals, an Angel script for you to act out at home. Julie Dawn Cole, not included. At the end of the day, Angels was a groundbreaking piece of television created by a brilliant writer which treated women in the workplace in an entirely new and fresh way. I highly recommend the Simply DVD releases, and if anyone can help me out with the UK Gold episodes, let me know. I'll bite your arm off. Thanks to Lisa and Andrew for letting me invade their podcast for a while. See ya.
And Angels returns next Tuesday evening at 6:40.
Thank you very much to Paul for that.
Thank you, Paul, for a very interesting article.
Yes, it's lovely when we get new people on board. It's brilliant.
Yes.
Paul was quite keen to do that Angels piece,
yes.
I think, and
Yes.
that's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if there's anyone out there who's very keen on doing a piece for us, please don't hesitate to
please
contact us.
Contact us on either Twitter address and
or Facebook.
Or Facebook, and yes, we will quite happily say yes.
Because the more people we've got, the more interesting I think this podcast becomes, and frankly, the less work we have to do.
Yes.
So that's even better. Yes. But you've got the Angels annuals, haven't you?
Yes.
And you tracked them down for.
I tracked them down. It wasn't really that hard.
They were on eBay.
Or
was it
Amazon,
eBay?
I think.
Right, okay.
Might be on eBay as well.
And just want to say a couple more things about them.
Mm-hmm.
You've got one there which has been annotated, haven't you?
It has been annotated.
So which one's this?
This is the 1978 annual.
Yeah.
And it's got cover picture with 4 of the nurses on.
But there's some profiles inside.
There's some profiles inside.
What's in an angel's name?
Yes. And
bits on the actresses as well.
Actresses, yes. And what's in an angel's name? This is talking about 4 of the nurses. So this is Jo, who's played by Julie Dawn Cole, Sandra Ling, who's played by Angela Bruce, Shirley, who's played by Claire Clifford, and Maureen, who's played by Erin Garrity.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, I'm assuming it's a girl, because Angels, it was probably seen as more of a girls' programme in those days, because it's about nurses, and nurses are girls, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And basically on this, in what could possibly, it's either crayon or felt tip, besides, because there's pictures of them as well, it has been written, I like her. Or I do not like her.
So who do they like?
They like Jo and Shirley.
Yeah.
But they don't like Sandra or Maureen.
All right. Okay.
And they've expressed this fact by giving Sandra and Maureen a green nose and also a blued out tooth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So it's I don't know why.
Jumping on to back to the first annual, the profile on Julie Dawn Cole has a rather unfortunate
typographical error,
spelling mistake.
Yes.
Julie got a break playing in the musical film. Well, I think they were going to attempting to spell Willy Wonka and the
Yes.
Chocolate Factory.
But they seem to
they've spelt Wonka without any O's,
Yes.
but with two A's.
With two A's.
Now I know.
Yeah.
Now I know the film, wasn't terribly well received by Roald Dahl, but there's no need to call him Willy. Yeah,
Whatever.
what they've called him. They correct that for the later annuals, I believe.
Yes.
But the thing about the production stuff, there's an interesting production diary and notes from Ron Craddock's sort of diary about
which I have to say has a picture of the nurses smiling in t-shirts with angels across their chests.
Yes, of course.
Yes, just to compliment the fact that it's something a little bit,
But yeah, like April 1974, discussions between Bill Slater, departmental head and controller of BBC One, about the possibility of a 50-minute series of documentary dramas about student nurses. And it goes all the way through to September 75, 7:20 p.m. on the 1st of September, the first episode of Angels goes on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ron gets an interesting profile. There's even a picture of him.
A picture of him, yeah.
Ron Craddock, producer-director of Angels and born in London in 1933. He left school at 14 and worked as an office boy, then as a shipping clerk. So
Right.
good factual stuff. You know, that's very good. Compare with some of the entries for the actresses,
yeah.
Leslie Dunlop.
Yes.
Honey blonde Leslie Dunlop with a head-turning 35, 24, 35 figure.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't we know what Ron Craddock's vital statistics are?
Because they're probably all the same. Just like 32, 32, 32.
32? He's not that thin. My trousers are 36. I bought some trousers this morning and they were 36.
Yes, they were 36.
Yeah, so there's one of my vital statistics anyway. You said about wanting to be a nurse, though, didn't you? Which surprised me.
When I was a child, when I was on the point of leaving school, I don't know why, I don't know what I'd seen that had encouraged this idea. I thought I'd like to be a nurse.
Right.
And when I left school, I did a couple of weeks. I'd done work experience, because you did work experience placements in a care home, and quite enjoyed it. And after I left school, I went back as a YTS kind of thing.
Right.
But while I was there the second time, I just found I didn't enjoy it as much, so I didn't go down that path.
All right.
But seeing Angels, I can sort of feel the little tug. But that's like a 70s nurse kind of thing. I think it's very different now.
You said Paul's article changed your mind a bit in terms of identifying the characters.
Yes, because when I watched it, I watched the first series, and I identified most with Shirley Brent's character, because I sort of know how that feels, because of the fact that she doesn't have many friends, and she's referred to as being plain because she wears glasses, basically. And she's not plain; she wears glasses. It's like this whole thing of men don't make passes for girls that wear glasses, or at girls that wear glasses, and it's just and then you've got sort of like Julie Duncar's character, who is fine. She's but she's bubbly and blonde, and they all like her, and honey blonde Leslie Dunlop, and they're all a bit dismissive of her as well. Right. They sort of don't take the mickey, but because she's a bit of a loner and she finds it hard to make friends, they don't engage with her.
Right.
But having heard Paul's article, it's made me appreciate that I can actually watch it now and think, actually, they're not that bad. It's just that's the way the characters are written. I'm now 4 episodes into the second series.
'Cause you've been watching it a lot whilst I've been in the bath, haven't you, on a Sunday night?
Yeah. And
I hear the end music, and it's time for me to come out of the bath, isn't it?
But it's an interesting series, and I would just say Paul mentioned that it doesn't focus on the patient so much, but there is one episode where they do that.
What you've just recently watched?
Which I've just recently watched, called Legacies.
Right.
And they show the patient before they go into the hospital, and then they show her in the hospital. She's a drug addict, so she's not a very nice character, but they show her before, so it's almost like Casualty, and I mean, you're not sitting there guessing what's going to happen, like you're doing Casualty, because it's usually like, oh, he's going to fall off a ladder or he's going to get run over by a lorry or something. So yeah, that's one episode where it is very different.
And there's some by PJ Hammond.
There's one
PJ
so
Hammond?
far by PJ,
Yeah. And when PJ Hammond's name come up, I said to you, "Oh, is this one about like a ghostly Victorian nurse that drifts through the ward at midnight,
and it wasn't.
Singing nursery rhymes?" And it was nothing like that.
No,
so
no.
just because it's by PJ Hammond doesn't mean it's strange.
No.
No.
Unless it's Ed Cars.
Yes, that's true.
And then it is strange.
Right. Anyway, as we said, let's move on. And for our final biggie article, we're going to look at Raffles.
Yes.
So over to us.
Yes.
See you.
Bye.
Hello, we're back.
Hello.
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 And Lisa is here.
I am.
As always.
Yes.
And
I live here. So.
Yes, that's good. And you wanted to do Raffles for our final article, didn't you?
And the reason we wanted to do this particular episode of Raffles,
Which is
to catch a thief
from the
from
15th of April 1977.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is because it features the late Robert Hardy
As a guest star.
Giving the most extraordinary performance, more of which later.
Yes.
So we thought, rather than focus on something obvious like All Creatures Great and Small, we'd do something that people...
Where he was a guest star.
Where he was guest star and that people have not necessarily seen. And if it encourages people to watch Raffles, it's all the better.
Right, so what's Raffles then?
Tell
me what Raffles is.
Raffles
and who
is
Raffles is.
Raffles is a
whole thing.
cricketer, AJ Raffles, a cricketer and a thief.
Okay, but a gentleman
A
thief.
gentleman thief.
Yes.
He's an amateur cracksman.
Right.
Which basically means he breaks into stuff.
So he's in sort of society,
Yes,
shall we say?
he's upper middle class.
This is late Victorian society?
Late Victorian, yeah. So
So it's sort of contemporaneous with Sergeant Cork, isn't it?
It is. It's a little bit later than Sergeant Cork, I think.
Because there's a reference to Queen Victoria's Jubilee at one point.
1897.
Oh, right, okay.
At the
yes.
Diamond.
But to catch a thief, this is episode 8 of the series. So what's the actual story here?
The actual story is there are jewel robberies happening, which Raffles hasn't actually done.
Yes.
But he's getting the blame for. Inspector Mackenzie of the Yard.
Yes. Who is a bit rubbish.
He's the worst policeman you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Keeps coming and asking Raffles where he was on these particular occasions.
Yeah.
And Raffles hasn't actually done these things because he has this sort of...
For once.
Normally
it is him.
But he has this rule that he doesn't steal from people he's staying with.
Yes.
Because it's not polite.
Yes, he's got a sort of code of conduct, which I think we ought to get back to later, because Robert Hardy sort of pulls him up on it.
Yeah.
But
So he decides to try and work out who the thief is.
Now, how does he do this?
He does this by getting lots of copies of the Morning Post, and going through the papers and trying to work out if there was one particular person at all of these events where something's been stolen.
Well, there was more than one person at all of these events.
But you know what I mean. One person in common.
Yeah, but how does he eliminate other people?
Oh yes, nobody old.
The aged. The rich.
And the feminine gender.
Ladies
now don't steal.
Why can't the feminine gender be doing this then?
Because they're ladies and they're fragrant.
Pardon?
And they do stuff like that.
Okay.
And because he's a Victorian gentleman, much like
Adam
Adamant, who will never believe, even when it's blatantly obvious that the woman he loves is a bad person, just doesn't believe it.
But yes, so Victorian gentlemen in fiction never believe bad of ladies. No. Okay, fair
I
enough.
think ladies are perfect,
Okay.
fragrant and wonderful.
Fragrant. I don't know. It's not in smell-o-vision, so
No.
I couldn't tell. But these stories are adapted from original short stories,
Yes.
aren't they?
And they're around the same time as the Sherlock Holmes stories.
Mm-hmm.
And actually,
But they're written by E.W.
Hornung, who is the brother-in-law of Arthur Conan Doyle.
Right.
He was married to Arthur Conan Doyle's sister. And in many ways, they're quite reminiscent of the Sherlock Holmes stories.
He's sort of the anti-Sherlock Holmes.
He is sort of the anti-Sherlock
in that
Holmes.
He's got a lot of a sort of attention to detail
Yeah.
and precision,
But
which shows up in this episode,
Yeah.
going through the list
of people.
Yeah.
And,
which
but,
apparently the police have not been able to do.
well,
Yeah.
they don't think of stuff like
Yeah.
that, do they? But he uses it for a life of crime instead of a life of solving crimes, which is what Sherlock Holmes does. But you notice when you read the stories, they're written in the first person, and the narrator is Bunny.
No, Bunny is...
He's his friend, Bunny Manners.
Yes.
His
old fag from public school.
Fag from public school, which basically means he did everything for him.
Yes.
As Roald Dahl once said, he warmed the toilet seats.
Yeah, toasted his crumpets.
And all that sort of stuff.
Because John Pertwee was at Sherborne School and he didn't like the fagging system.
No, he wasn't very good at being a fag.
Because he got thrown out of Sherborne School.
He got thrown out of several
like
schools.
toast crumpets and things like that. Well,
no.
Yeah.
I think he considered it against his dignity to toast crumpets for other people.
Make your own crumpets
Yeah.
was his thing, wasn't it?
Yes.
But yes, these the sort of Raffles stories fall into two halves, don't they?
Yes. There's 3 books with short stories and 1 novel. The first book is him in his heyday, as it were. He's living at the Albany, more of which in a moment, and he's able to mix in society and meet people and steal stuff.
Yeah.
Then, in the last story in that collection, which is The Gift of the Emperor, which they did televise, he is discovered to be a thief.
Yeah.
And he apparently dies.
Mm-hmm.
But he comes back in... I can't remember what the story's called. It's not in this book.
Never mind.
He comes back in a story, and that story was written before Conan Doyle brings back Sherlock Holmes, and it very much looks like it influences the way Conan Doyle brings back Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, right.
So instead of it being the other way round, it's reversed.
Yeah. Okay.
And from that point, obviously he can't live at the Albany because he's not really a gentleman anymore. So he has to live in lesser circumstances. It's all a bit darker.
Yeah.
And all a bit more sort of grubby, and this is when To Catch a Thief is set.
Yes.
But in the television series, Philip Mackey, who is the writer of the episodes, again more of which in a moment, very wisely decides to jettison all that and just keep it in the theme of the earlier
I read the
Raffles
short story of To Catch a Thief in the bath this morning. It
Yeah.
didn't take me long.
No, they're not very
and frankly,
long.
there's not 50 minutes of television in it by any stretch.
You can see
of the
why he's had
imagination.
to change it and put other things into it. And quite frankly, the resolution of it is poor.
In the book.
In the book.
Yeah.
The television episode is much better. I will warn you now, if you've not seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, stop listening now, go and watch it, and then come back.
Yeah.
Because I am going to spoil it.
Yes.
Because I have to talk about the story.
But let's just say, you said about the Albany. What's the Albany where he lives?
Is the apartment, is the block for, it's apartments for bachelors.
Okay.
And it was built in from 1770 to 1774.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it says by the Duke of Albany,
Right.
but when I've looked it up again, it says it was built by Sir William Chambers for the newly created first Viscount Melbourne.
Okay.
But then I think Prince Frederick, Duke of York and Albany, he's the one that marched all the men up the hill and down again.
All right.
Abandoned Dover House, Whitehall, and took up residence there. So they changed it to the Albany.
Okay.
In tribute to him.
Yes.
In 1802, the Duke of Albany gave up the house, and it was converted by Henry Holland into bachelor apartments.
Mm-hmm.
Now, into this day, it still exists, still stands. To get to live there, and it's very exclusive and very expensive, you have to be accepted by the committee.
Oh.
So you have to be a certain kind of person.
So we wouldn't get in then?
No. Ladies are now allowed to live there, but no children under the age of 14.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
Don't mind that.
But yeah, it's just off Piccadilly, and some of the apartments are owned by Peterhouse College, Cambridge.
Okay. Now, the series makes it to television in first of all, a sort of one-off thing in
pilot.
1975.
1975, yeah.
And we've got Anthony Valentine
As
as
Raffles.
Raffles and Christopher Strawley,
Mhm.
who's probably quite HAPPY playing Bunny
Yes.
Manders. I was going to do that joke.
I
yes.
know.
But you said it's rare to have Anthony Valentine in a sort of, I'll say sort of hero role.
He's an anti-hero.
Role. It's still not quite a hero role, is it?
But normally he's an out-and-out villain, Anthony Valentine, or he's not a very nice person because he's in Callan as Toby Mears, and he's really not a very nice person.
And Colditz as well.
And Colditz as a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they actually go for the series a couple of years later.
Yes. But I assume
77.
that they saw the ratings on it and decided afterwards, but it just took a little while to actually get it into production.
Yeah. There is a later production starring Nigel Havers, 2001,
Yeah.
which we haven't seen.
No. Well, I did look on the internet and no copy seems to be out there. So,
But the 77 series, I have no memory of watching. It was made by Yorkshire TV.
Mm-hmm.
And as we said, it was scripted by Philip Mackey.
Yes.
Now, we just should say briefly about Philip Mackey.
Philip Mackey's wrote an awful lot of stuff.
Yes. He is granddad to Pearl Mackey.
Yes, who is the, at this moment, current Doctor Who companion.
Yes. But he's written for quite a few things that we've got in our collection that we really...
We've got a lot of Philip
that
Mackey
we really like. He's
things.
Dramatised The Rivals of Sherlock Holmes,
which we love,
which is really good, including Horse of the Invisible,
which is brilliant. You should really watch that. It's a great
fantastic,
story.
yes.
It's got
but he's
Don
also
Pleasance.
creator and writer for Mr. Rose as
Yes,
well.
which we do like.
Yes.
Even if some of the later stuff is not as good.
But yeah, Edgar Wallace Mystery Theatres from the very early 60s. Even things like the Cleopatras, would you believe?
All right, okay.
Armchair Thriller.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Raffles is one of his sort of major things, I think,
Yes.
really.
Yes.
I remember our friend Nick was very excited when some stories came out in the early 90s
Yes.
on video.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I think Nick was the first person to show me Raffles.
Yes,
and probably,
and me as well, yeah.
Probably for you
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
But yeah, this episode, To Catch a Thief, Robert Hardy's the sort of main
guest star.
You do tend to get one big guest star,
big-ish guest star, yes.
don't you?
Yes.
And you said there's a link with not this episode, but there's a link to Angels with the
Yes.
episode Home Affairs.
Yes.
Because who's in that one?
And Erin Geraghty, I think that's how you pronounce her name. And
Yes.
she's in Angels as Maureen.
Yes.
And in the episode of Raffles
She's Jane.
as Jane, she's basically in charge of taking the coats and hats. And Raffles charms her.
Yes, but
Yes.
Home Affairs has got Graham Crowden
Yes.
being absolutely brilliant.
And if he goes so far over the top,
Is
he
he the
meets
Home-
himself on the
Home
other
Secretary
side.
in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a scene where they've locked him out of his house, and he's banging on the door, and he's like, "Bang, bang, bang, bang! It's me, the master." And there's an extraordinary bit there where Bunny gets trapped in the house,
All right.
and Raffles sort of has to try and go back in to get him out.
And
he's in a
hiding
cupboard.
in a cupboard
And
in
Mackenzie's-
plain sight.
Yeah, and Mackenzie's got no peripheral vision. He'd make a great Doctor Who monster because he's literally you could probably see him at the corner of your eye, really.
Now, this is Inspector Mackenzie as played by Victor Carrin.
Victor Carrin, yes.
In the original episode,
In the pilot,
episode, who's Inspector
James
Mackenzie?
Maxwell, who's in various things.
Yes, doing a very strange
Yes.
Scottish
I think
accent.
he's trying for Edinburgh.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay. Because he's looking out the window at one
Yes.
point, and there's a ladder,
A
there's a
rope
rope,
ladder.
there's a
A
rope,
rope,
isn't
yeah,
there? And
yeah.
he does something like, "Hello, is it hanging over a window?"
And it's just the most extraordinary thing. I would say James Maxwell came from Massachusetts in America.
Yeah.
So doing any accent that's not your own is probably quite difficult. But he's also in a Father Brown episode where he does a really weird American accent.
Okay, maybe
but-
accents aren't his thing.
But he was
are they?
American.
That's all right.
You should be able to do an American accent.
Okay. But yes, getting back to
Anyway,
Catch
yeah.
a Thief. So Robert Hardy's been doing all this stealing.
Stealing, yes.
He's playing Lord Ernest Belville.
Yes, and
by the
he's
way.
an anti-drink
campaigner.
So apparently he
rational
doesn't
drink.
rational drink. Yeah, he
Well,
doesn't drink.
he supposedly.
I did say apparently.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's his sort of front for sort
Yes.
of respectability,
Yes.
isn't it?
And to be able to go everywhere.
But yeah, he's going to all these parties and
Yeah.
nicking stuff,
And nicking
basically.
stuff, yeah.
Now, where does he hide it?
He hides it in an Indian club.
Yes.
Which is
in
hollow in his bedroom.
In his bedroom.
You unscrew the top and stick all your loot in, and then screw the top back on.
Because Raffles sort of picks these up and notices that one's not the same weight
they're
as the other.
different weights. One's lighter than the other.
And he also knows that's the room where he's hiding the stuff because it's got a stout bolt on
the door.
On the door, and
Yes.
there's a ladder
outside
for a quick escape. So this is what I mean about Raffles' sort of eye for detail, isn't it? It's the sort of thing that Sherlock Holmes would pick up on.
Yeah.
But yes, so basically, Raffles gets into his house though by posing as
a journalist the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, and then he gets back in again because
they get discovered, don't they?
Well, but he gets back in by posing again as a journalist and saying, I think he says he's left something behind or he's waiting for him or something. But yeah, Robert Hardy comes back.
Yeah.
But he's waiting for him to come back because he's got a proposition to make.
But then he makes out he's from Scotland Yard,
makes out he's
doesn't
from
he?
Scotland Yard, yes.
Raffles
He does his policeman voice.
But Raffles has quite a few sort of disguises and characters.
Yeah. So again, it's like Sherlock Holmes.
Because isn't he the postman in one, and then and he's the tramp or something. So it's that wonderful, thing. It's a good excuse for an actor to play lots of
different
sort
parts
of
and dress
variations
up and do voices.
Yeah. But is one as the reporter's quite good because it's quite sort of meek and blundery, isn't it?
Yes, because it gives him an excuse to knock stuff off and check out what cards he's got on the
cards and things.
What invitations he's got basically. So.
But yes, then he sort of, as posing as the policeman, he then goes off.
Yes.
And leaves Bunny
in charge, which is a recipe for disaster.
But no, this is what he's planned to do, isn't it?
What he's planned to do, yes.
Because he thinks Bunny's going to take a bribe.
Yeah.
But in the end, he just gets clonked on the head.
He does, yeah.
But is it by the Indian clubs?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, which and then Robert Hardy doesn't he make an anonymous phone call?
Yes.
To Scotland Yard.
What he does is before he does that. There's a bathroom in the bedroom, and he shuts himself in the bathroom. But he opens there's a door onto a balcony, which is where the ladder is, and he opens that and makes it look like he's escaped out of the window, off the balcony. But he hides in the bathroom, so he overhears them talking as themselves
and realises
that he's been duped. So he makes an anonymous phone call to Scotland Yard, who raid. And tells them that the loot's at Raffles.
Yeah.
They raid Raffles.
Because Mackenzie turns the place upside down and doesn't find anything.
Yeah. He raids his flat and doesn't find anything because he's already given it to Bunny to hide.
Well, he's
given him some packages.
He's put it in sort of the post. Well, he's given it to Bunny to post, although Bunny doesn't actually post it. He just puts it in his pocket and walks off with it.
Mm-hmm.
But then later on, Robert Hardy turns up
at the flat.
Yes. With a gun.
Because he's a cad.
Yes. But then he does make they say sort of Raffles and Bunny that he's sort of like a cad and a sneak and a telltale tit and things. It's not the done thing.
Not the done thing
to grass up.
Up somebody else. Yeah. Yes.
But
another gentleman.
But then, as Robert Hardy sort of says that it's all a bit hypocritical anyway because he's a thief.
Yes.
So he is on sort of shaky ground morality wise anyway, isn't he?
But yet you still want him to get out of things, Raffles.
Yeah.
It's a really weird sort of thing.
But eventually, yes, Robert Hardy's sort of holding him at gunpoint, and it's Raffles' cricketing skills come in because he chucks a cricket ball at him.
He's going to shoot him.
Yeah, he chucks a cricket ball at him.
Yeah.
Clonks him on the head. Sort of Robert Hardy spins round and manages to shoot himself, doesn't he?
Like you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the original story, he just falls off a roof, doesn't he?
In the middle of a thunderstorm, which is impossible to do.
Well, you could do it. It just wouldn't be very convincing.
And B, it's a bit dull.
Because one thing Raffles does suffer from occasionally is unconvincing night filming,
yes,
isn't it?
yes,
It's all
night
shot
filming.
on OB
Yep.
video,
Mhm.
and there's quite a few night scenes where they're clambering over roofs and
Yep.
things like that, and the night sky is very blue and bright
Yes,
for night,
for
isn't
night.
it? Yeah,
But I can see why they've done that, because you don't really want your lead actor climbing over roofs
at night.
No.
No.
Likely to fall off and break your leg or his neck or something when you're filming.
But this whole sequence you get in the TV
Yes.
episode,
It really adds to the episode.
they then face the problem of how do they get the
rid of
body home.
Yes. Yes. So basically,
Because they can't be discovered
No.
with a dead body
No.
in there.
So he phones Bunny up. He gets Bunny to come over
In evening dress.
and they put his hat and coat on,
Yeah.
and they basically make out he's drunk.
Yes. Now they have the thing. They've got to manhandle him down the stairs.
Yeah.
To where the porter is.
Yes.
Get a cab to
Mhm.
get him home.
Yeah.
And Robert Hardy must be laughing his head off in
Yeah.
the outtakes.
Because it's really hard.
Because he's got this monocle, hasn't
Yeah,
it? And
and
it
the-
keeps on falling out.
I mean, the monocle falls out all the time anyway.
Yeah, even during the whole of the episode, he's
Yeah.
doing like monocle acting,
Yeah, he's
isn't
doing
it?
an affectation with a monocle where he'll pull a face and it'll
proper
fall
actory
out.
business, isn't
yes,
it? Yeah.
Yes, I bet he loved having that monocle.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then now because he's acting dead, he's got to be all floppy.
Yeah.
So every time they don't hold him,
His sort of head goes.
his head goes, and his hat falls off, and then they notice there's a bit of blood on his chest.
Because the cab driver goes, he's got some blood on him, and his head sort of lurches down,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Because they've called him Algie as well.
yeah,
They've just
yeah.
made up a name
Yes.
for him, Algie. Don't look Algie, it'll make you feel sick
Yeah.
or something.
Because they say he's fallen over and knocked himself.
Yeah.
Or something, yeah. So basically they get him back to his flat.
Mm-hmm. He's doused in
And
whiskey,
they douse
isn't
him
it?
in
Because he
whiskey.
really does drink whiskey.
He does
yeah.
whiskey. Does drink whiskey. They douse him in whiskey. They take him back to his flat.
Put the jewels in his
Put
one
the
hand.
last set of jewels he stole in his hand. They keep the rest, you
Yeah.
note. And put the gun in his hand.
As though he's been
And-
overcome with remorse and shot himself.
And shot himself. Yeah.
And then Mackenzie comes in
and
discovers
finds him.
him.
Yeah. And that's how. So yeah.
But the final wrap-up scene is Mackenzie goes back to Raffles and tells him
Yeah.
about this, and then they start sort of moving all the furniture, around.
about. And Mackenzie says, "What are you doing, Mr. Raffles?"
Well, this is how you like it, isn't it? Because you put it all
Yeah.
upside down earlier, so this is obviously how you like it. And you said you feel a bit sorry for
I
Mackenzie.
felt a bit sorry for Mackenzie. It's the only time I've ever felt sorry for Mackenzie. Because he's actually come to apologise, really. And Raffles can't resist rubbing his nose in it a little bit.
But yeah, I mean,
it's a great fun story.
It's a very good episode. Possibly one of the best. I'm not sure, because they're all pretty strong, as to be said.
They are. I mean, some of them are more light-hearted than others.
Yeah, it's got a pretty good hit rate, this series. Yes. Just in terms of storylines and in terms of guest artists as well.
Yeah.
Again, if you like your sort of late 70s.
Yeah.
Guest
stars,
proper actors.
Yeah.
It's full of them again.
Yeah, because you've got Alfred Marks in an episode.
Yeah.
You've got
Peter Sallis is in one, isn't he?
Costume piece. He's part of the Criminologist Society. Tony Britton's in that one as well, isn't he?
Brian Glover.
Yeah.
He's in that one. Marina Sirtis.
Yes.
Looking
very young.
Young in that. William Mervyn's.
Yeah.
In one. So it's very good.
John Savardant.
Oh yeah, John. Oh, Gold Cup. I should say about Gold
Oh
Cup.
yes, you like the Gold Cup.
I love the Gold Cup because
he wants to steal a Gold Cup.
That's where they go to the British Museum, and he's disguised as an
old
old
man
man in a bath
Bunny
chair.
has to push him around in the bath chair.
And I said to you, one day we should go to the British Museum, and I'll be in a bath chair, and you can push me around.
And I said no.
And you said no. don't see why. Oh, William Moore's the museum policeman as well, isn't he? That's right. Yeah.
I said no because you've been to the British Museum recently? You know how packed it gets in there.
Well, that's why I wanted to go in a bath chair.
Yeah, what so I can just knock people over?
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
And then the chest of silver. Yeah, he puts all his stolen silver into a bank vault, and apparently goes away.
Oh yes.
And while he's away, the bank vault gets raided and all the stuff's stolen.
Well, that's got Trevor Ray in it.
Yeah, and he can't repair. He obviously can't.
John Ringham.
Yeah, he can't report it stolen because it's stolen already.
Yeah.
But it's some really. Yeah, it's complicated. But it's a great series. Anthony Valentine is superb.
Yes.
And Christopher Strawley's very good as well. And
he's got a very good line in sort of slightly dim innocence, hasn't he?
Yes, that's why that's why he's almost friends with him, Raffles. Because nobody would suspect a little innocent face like that
nice but dim, isn't he?
But he's a bit nice but dim. Yeah. Tim, nice but dim. But yeah, it's a great series. That particular episode, To Catch a Thief, is marvellous because it's great acting from all. It's worth it just to see Robert Hardy as a dead body, which I know is slightly unfortunate, as he's just died. But it's superb acting.
Oh, and just to mention that Raffles still pops up to this day in Viz comic, doesn't he? Because they do a sort of semi-regular thing, Raffles the Gentleman Thug. So he's terribly, terribly violent, but extremely well-spoken. So there's he speaks in a very sort of roundabout sort of way. For example, could you ask them to address any remarks to my manual extremity, as my physiognomy does not appear to be listening at present? In other words, talk to the hand because the face ain't listening.
Yes.
It usually ends up in a punch-up at some point, but I do wonder whether the people at Viz are drawing on the TV series,
possibly,
for some of the inspiration. I don't really know, because I don't know how well known the actual stories are.
They're relatively well known, I think.
But I'd never read them.
No, I'd never read them either. But we've now got them in book versions that we can. That sounds weird. I should explain. I already had them on electronic book version, but now we have them in proper book version
that you can hold.
That you can hold in your
hand
and
read in the bath.
And read in the bath and drop in the bath.
Yeah, I haven't dropped them in the bath.
Well, I didn't say you had.
Yeah, I dropped Arthur Lowe in the bath.
I know you dropped Arthur Lowe in the bath. That's a long story, and people are going to now wonder what the hell that's about. But anyway,
his biography.
Yes.
Not
literally Arthur Lowe. That would have been a big splash.
And he'd have come up with his hat all askew.
And his glasses,
Yeah,
we're going off the point here.
Okay, but
So
to sum up then.
Yes, Raffles.
Watch
it.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
That was a very good summing up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, or you could buy the DVDs.
No, don't say YouTube.
Right,
buy the DVDs. Be legal.
Or watch an episode on YouTube and then buy the DVDs.
Oh wow! All right, yes. Okay.
To get a flavour of it.
Yes. Don't rip it off.
No, don't rip it off, because
do the good thing.
Yes, it's a good series, and people deserve to get like 5p for it.
That much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you then. That'll do for that one, and that's just about this issue done, I think. But I think we've got at least a sketch to come, haven't we?
Possibly,
so we better do that.
Okay.
And, there you go then. See you soon then.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right, you've got an indeterminate number of seconds to remember what was on this issue of Round the Archives. Go.
There's a bit on the Generation game.
Generation game, yes.
Bullseye.
Yeah.
And Neil and Sue Perryman.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Continuity.
Oh, the continuity. It was Paul Ebbs on Angels.
Yeah. And you did something about Angels.
Oh, I did something about Angels, yeah.
And don't forget the Cuddly.
Oh, was it Cuddly Warren?
Cuddly Warren.
Yeah. And another Cuddly Warren. There's two Cuddly Warrens.
Oh, are there? Right.
Yes. And we did that on Raffles.
Yeah.
And
there was an interview with us.
Oh, it was an interview with us. Yes. Oh, I've forgotten that one.
Didn't she do well?
That was episode 14 of Round the Archives, starring Lisa Parker and Andrew Trowbridge, with Warren Cummings, Sue and Neil Perryman, and Paul Ebbs.
On the musical side, you heard Dan Tate and Paul Chandler.
The script for Raffles to Catch a Thief was by Philip Mackey and E.W. Hornung.
And the producer was Jackie Stoller.
This is a Norfolk dyke digger.
Dyke digger.
Rose is looking at you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Right, got to get it out of the system. I can't do it. I can see it. It's this long pole with a ladle on the end. Sorry, are you? Are you ready to go? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, with fabulous star prizes, or give or take the odd booby.
Is there a word missing there?
No.
It's bloody around the archives.
Was it a good idea to open the episode with this? Rose has just stood on the words.
Paper!
Oh, lovely.
That's like
Come
paper.
on. They're
Good,
auditioning.
Rose,
start again now.
Off the paper, please. Thank you.
That was Rose's paper.